It's been hard to focus on the future when the past grips us so tightly that it makes the present feel unreal. Between the election that keeps stretching along past November 3rd and the pandemic that is bringing back those lockdowns that didn't realize had actually ever ended, it feels like we're so entangled by our past that we can barely see our present, much less our future. This makes giving a talk where the theme is the seeds of our future kind of difficult. The last time, honestly, that I felt this unsure about my future or our future was in 2013. I just graduated college and I had promptly blown up my life. I had no job. The military career I devoted my college years to pursuing was no longer an option because I failed to get my weight under control. I had no home. I was kicked out of my family home. Honestly, I felt like I had no future. To paraphrase the famous Motion City soundtrack song, the future freaked me out. But that was almost a decade ago. Since then, I've had jobs, I've had homes. Hell, I have a dog. She's very cute. She's looking very intently at me right now. And I realized that the future freaked me out because it was very suddenly not going to be the one I thought I was going to have. The future freaked me out because I didn't know what it would hold. It no longer does because I can afford, not because I can foresee the future, but because I can foresee how to find my place for myself in any future. And that more than anything is what I want to talk to you about. None of you foresaw a future where your high school experience would be defined by Zoom calls and taking tests at home while dodging your cat. None of you can foresee what exact career you'll need to survive and thrive in the future. But what we can foresee is how you can build a life that is robust to any outcome, build a career that is resilient to any future. And here are three ideas that I've found in my work that'll help you do just that. First, remote work is absolutely, it's here to stay, but that doesn't mean where you live does not matter. In fact, in some ways, it might matter more than it did before. It's at this point undeniable that the pandemic has accelerated trends of remote work and working from home. If you are in doubt of that, you should check the fact that we're doing a TED Talk on Zoom. A survey from Arizona State University not only showed that 2/3 of workers in mid-July of this year were working mostly remotely, which is up from 13% of workers who said that they worked even slightly remotely. Among those who previously not worked regularly from home, 62% said that they're enjoying the change, and 75% expect their employers to continue to provide flexibility where they work after the pandemic has passed. The announcement of permanent work from home for major companies like Microsoft and Twitter, they've made it clear that a large portion of employers agree that some version of remote work is here to stay. And so a lot of people have started to talk about, well, maybe I can work anywhere and live anywhere. Why live in expensive San Francisco if you could command a tech salary but pay rent in Cleveland? The answer is that this is a little bit misguided because the rise of remote work has also had a couple of knock-on effects in terms of how people's careers progressed. One thing I've seen in the data, and Boston Global Consulting confirms, is that companies are really struggling to build what they call high engagement virtual teams. So the spontaneous collaboration and social interaction that happen in a physical workplace, where you build connections, you build relationships, it's just very difficult to replicate online. Teams are increasingly becoming more siloed. Folks are in companies tend to only meet sort of the folks that they have to work with, but not beyond that. And it's those spontaneous interactions outside of it that tend to be really critical, both in getting promoted, but also getting hired elsewhere. So one of the reasons this is really important is because referrals remain super integral to the hiring and promotion process. JobVite shared data that showed that referred applicants are 15 times more likely to be hired than applicants who apply via job board. Recruiter Nation survey found that 80% of recruiters saw referrals as the best and most consistent way to find quality hires. Personally, having looked at labor market data, looked at a lot of results, I don't think that's actually necessarily true. In fact, a lot of the discrimination on our job market today exists largely because referrals is just a powerful way to network. But as an individual, you have to adapt to the way the world is right now while still trying to change this to be better in the future. And so if you can't network at work, but networking still really matters, what are you supposed to do? Well, my own research and study have found that the two biggest sources of job referral connections are from people you knew in school and people you socialize with where you live. Disproportionate percentages of tech employees live in cities like New York and San Francisco. McKinsey reports that more than 2/3 of US job growth since 2007 has been concentrated in 25 cities in America, while low growth in rural counties where 77 million people live have actually had flat or falling employment growth even during economic recoveries. And so if you can't build connections at your job, you're more likely than ever going to need to build them where you live. And obviously we're in a pandemic now, but as we move towards a post-pandemic future, when cities reopen, folks are still going to be able to interact. If jobs become more remote, as they are likely to, that interaction in your neighborhood and your community is going to become a lot more important to sort of build the networks you need to advance in your career. Second, skills are going to matter far more than credentials. I'm not saying don't go to college, far from it. The evidence is pretty clear that a college degree for most people will still be worth the financial return. What I am saying is that what will make you more valuable to an employer and to the job market is going to be a lot more complicated than just getting a bachelor's degree. One of the major labor data market research firms, MC, released a report on resilient skills that found that resilient workers who fared best during the economic crisis, workers that you might call T-shaped. As the name suggests, T-shaped workers have broad interdisciplinary competence and skills, but also have a lot of very specific, deep, narrow expertise. So they're T in that they have lots of broad skills, and then they're an expert in one or two specific things. A 2017 study by David J. Deming, an associate professor at Harvard, found that jobs requiring both soft skills and thinking skills have seen the largest growth in employment and pay in the last 3 decades. And that is really what falls under the top T of the T shape. Those so-called soft skills are really critical and really important. But on top of that, having a specific technical skill creates the other leg of that T. Things like Python or Java are sort of the highest growth ones right now, but it can vary and change depending on what you're looking at. So for a long time, college skeptics told us that degrees would be outdated, we'd all be going to boot camps or taking Udemy classes. Truth is a little more complicated. Also, alternative education models like Cal Bright College, where I used to work, and I think still is incredibly important work, Lambda School, FlockJ, Udemy, AltMBA, WGU, and others have exploded. It's becoming really clear that the future of work is going to be more nuanced and messy than folks predicted. You might have a future where you get a bachelor's in English at UC Berkeley, become a marketing copywriter, but you pick up a Google data analyst certification and you transform that to become a data journalist. Or you might not go to college at all. You go to a sales boot camp like FlockJ, and then when you want to move up the career ladder into management, you do something like AltMBA, which gives you management skills. So the future of work is going to be a lot less predictable, require you to be a lot more flexible than its past. But that's okay, because researchers are developing tools for you to better understand what labor experts call skill adjacency. It's like Google Maps for your skills, where you can see what skills you have, what skills you need to get to a better job. I think one of the biggest frustrations I had working in labor market data and economics is there are a lot of folks who would look at a job or think that they're stuck in their role when actually they already had 5 out of the 6 skills necessary, and they just needed to add one more, and they could dramatically change like their life circumstances. Finally, artificial intelligence, which everyone loves to talk about, isn't something to be afraid of if you prepare for it. Look, there are a lot of scary reports out there about AI, automation, going to wipe out all jobs. In 2018, artificial intelligence expert Kai-Fu Lee estimated that AI would take over half of human work in 15 years. Brookings Institute report says roughly 36 million Americans hold jobs of high exposure to automation. But the same analysis consistently finds that by reducing the cost of production, making things more efficient, generating just a lot more scale in production, automation is also going to promote enormous amounts of opportunity. The jobs lost to automation are likely to be replaced by new jobs that pay better and provide more meaning. But the challenge is to fill those jobs. And that's not just a challenge for you. I think it's primarily a challenge for society to make sure that we equip you and train you and support you for those jobs in a way that we really failed to in the past. Um, but as an individual, it's also going to be on you to keep an eye on the skills that you have and the skills you need to do the work you want to do. And it's a lot more complicated than just like, oh, you need to learn to code or whatever. The world is going to increasingly value folks who can communicate really well, folks who can work on interpersonal teams, folks who have, what we call soft skills. Those skills can be incredibly valuable, especially as work becomes more automated. And so navigating the people who go into that work is going to become even more important. So look, I don't want you to be afraid of the future, but I do need to be honest with you. I'm scared too. When I first applied to give this TED Talk, I had a job. I actually had to have the description changed today to be like previously worked at. By the time it came around, I did not. Economic crisis has cut state budgets a lot, and things have been difficult for a lot of folks who work in public agencies, including myself. And so, yeah, the guy talking about the future of work is out of work. And in some ways, I feel like I did in 2013. My future's uncertain, and it's hard to feel resilient or hopeful in a world that seems to slide more deeply into chaos every day. Writing this talk was impossibly hard because it's impossible to feel confident right now. But if there's anything that 2013 Armand, who is homeless, unemployed, on the edge of total defeat, could tell me today, it would be this. I have a home I'm safe in. I have a girlfriend I love. And I've had the chance to do some incredible good of some incredible people. And because I've rolled with the punches, learned the right skills, and faced down the odds before, I know I can do it again. The future doesn't freak me out. And the future shouldn't freak out any of you. You're smart. You're kind. The world's falling apart and you're organizing an online TED Talk. I think you're, pretty capable people. You've gone through the most horrible crisis of my lifetime, more horrible than anything I could have ever imagined. And you've not only survived, you have thrived. And so as the song goes, I'm on fire, and now I think I'm ready to bust a move. We're on fire. We're ready to bust a move. Let's go. Thank you.